Now, I'm going to share with us 3 ideas today. And 2 will be the things that I've realized that actually affect the decisions we do make. And then 1 is a little bit all-encompassing, and it comes with an interesting story. So I'm hoping you're going to stay with me to the very end, all right? Now, the first thing that I would say is the simplest way to look at when you're identifying the decision-making process you're going through is the way you feel. The decisions you make, the decisions you've made, the choices you've taken in the past so far till date, they've been driven by the way you feel. They've been driven by the way you feel. So whenever let's go again to the fridge. You go to the fridge and you have the option of taking soda or taking water or taking a juice, right? A bottle of juice, or maybe a fruit one that is freshly done or processed or whatever. The way you feel about yourself is what would determine that particular choice that you're going to take. So if you feel like I want to indulge, most likely you're going to go for soda. Or if you're thinking about desserts after a meal, I feel like crunching on something. Not necessarily crunching something, maybe just something sweet, right? There are many options of sweet things that you might find in a regular fridge. You might find sweet fruits, right? Or you might find ice cream. But if that person at that time is feeling like, I want to indulge, the likelihood is that the person is going to settle for a sweet dessert. The choices you've taken so far in life, especially the ones that you made quickly, were led by the way you felt. And I want us to start catching ourselves going forward whenever it comes to that. So for example, you hear that someone that you are used to, you like, is in town. And you know that every time you're around that person makes you feel good. You know you're likely to make sure you do all you can to meet that person. Or your phone is ringing. You have 2 phones and they're ringing at the same time. One person is a friend that you know that when you guys get on the call, you talk for a long time. And another person is one that you're like, you always feel so drained after the call. Because of the way you feel at that time, you are likely to prefer to have a conversation with the person that will make you feel better. Except, of course, maybe you just decided that day that you're in the mood to encourage someone. So when you see the other call from the person that you know may make you feel good, you're like, I feel capable to have this call with this person. The feelings that you've had when you come to crossroads have determined the kind of choices that you've made so far. Now, while I will not say that feelings are bad, because, for example, if you're going to take a decision on something that may be valuable, maybe you want to choose, like some of us have come to those crossroads at some point or the other. You want to take a training option, or you want to work with a coach, or you want to work with a mentor, right? You want to feel certain that the solution that you're going to get in that process is something that you can be, that you can find rewarding at the end of the day. So the feeling at that time is not necessarily something flimsy. It could be a feeling of certainty. It could be a feeling of being convinced that that solution will work for you, right? Or maybe you have an option of maybe artisans to come do work for you in your house. And you heard about a particular plumber that is really good, or an electrician that is really good. Because of the conviction that you feel at that time, you lean towards a particular vendor or that particular artisan, right? So what I'm saying is that the feeling you have doesn't necessarily have to be something negative like, oh, it's flimsy, you want to indulge. It could be something as strong and positive as you're certain about something, you're clear about something, you feel clear about something, you feel convinced, or for those times when maybe the choices that we make are kind of influenced by, they are influenced by the people around us. Sometimes because we also want to feel among, right? Or think about those times when you've had the choices of buying something that gave you a feeling of luxury or a feeling of quality or premium, right? My mind goes back to a conversation we had in our house once. My husband went shopping with one of our kids and, with my daughter actually, and they actually bought something from a top brand store at that particular time. And, we made a lot of teas at home, about how she felt carrying the bag from that store. There's a feeling you have with certain things. That's the truth. And that's probably the reason why luxury brands are also doing all they can to push their items out, because they know that there's a feeling you have when you carry their products, when you carry their item, you have a feeling of luxury. And so when you make a choice, paying a little bit extra for something or associating yourself with something, you feel like you belong. You feel like you are associated with something that is worth, recognizing. You feel like you are in a particular class as well, and also to a good extent you feel like you've settled for something really good and you've paid for premium. And same thing for some people that make choices of how they want to fly when they go on holidays, or the kind of resort they want to settle in for a few days when they are on a break and all of that. The feelings that we have, they've been driving the choices we've been making for a long time. And so my question is, are you catching yourself whenever you're doing it? Because like I said, they don't necessarily have to be bad feelings. But the thing I want us to factor in going forward is this. As you catch yourself, you now want to ask yourself for really big decisions to say, on the long run, in the long term, right? Will this decision pay me? Will it be a consequence that I'm okay with? Will it serve me? Because right now you may go to the fridge and say, I feel like indulging. Okay, good, you can indulge. But then on the long run, when you're done indulging with all the ice cream you have in the house or the cake that you have in your fridge, how are you going to be looking and how are you going to be feeling? And is your body going to be strong enough and healthy enough to fight every kind of sickness or disease or infection that could possibly come your way? So you want to be asking yourself, okay, I feel this way right now. That's why I'm taking this decision. But how am I going to feel long-term taking this decision? So the question I want to ask those watching us today or who will be watching the replay is, do you know what you like? And even though you're doing something that you might not really like today because you need to pay the bills, what are the plans you have around the things you like? Because it is part of what you need to thrive. According to Azume's definition of thriving, you must be doing something you like. And I kind of agree with it though, because when I talk about the thriving code, it's one of the things that I explain under the E of the thriving code, that you need to have an expression. An expression could be something you enjoy or something you're good at. And you are even adding an extra layer to it to say, make sure it's rewarding you. Make sure it's rewarding you. So I really like that.
Nigeria, what country, the world, you've got to get money. You've got to earn money.
Yes. You
have to.
Yes, because the bills have to be paid. And apart from bills being paid, for some people, it's not about bills being paid as well. It's about the things you can do when you have funds with you. You can be a blessing to others.
And it's like a reward. It's like, oh yeah, I'm paying you for this because yes, I needed that and you provided it. I remember the first time somebody told me he needed me because I create content, right, on Instagram for food brands. They sent me their spices and all of that, and then I use them and then create content for them. I remember the first time somebody wanted to pay me for that, and I was like, oh my God, I can make money from this.
Wow, that is good.
And you have people that are on social media 24/7. Get someone to pay you to manage their page. You're going to be anyway.
Yeah, true.
You're there.
That is incredible. I didn't even know I was sitting in front of an influencer.
Your lips to God's ears. Woohoo!
Incredible. Congratulations on that. I'm going to just share with us as I, go on today, 3 situations that you would need clarity on. So I've talked about things you need to be clear on, like things you want, what you need to do, what you have in your archives or in your treasure or what you have going for you. And then of course, what could be the best case scenario if you take a decision, right? And what could really happen if it doesn't go your way, okay? But then let's go into the situations that you could actually be requiring some form of clarity, right? The first one is when you are transitioning into a new space. When you're transitioning into a new space, every time you're coming into a new terrain, you need clarity. You need clarity in that place because it's not something that you're familiar with. Anytime you're into something that you're not familiar with, you've not done before, a new career, a new relationship, right? A new city that you're moving into, you need clarity. And for you to be able to sort clarity in that space, that new thing, most times when you have someone holding your hands as a guide, someone who has gone ahead of you, who has done that thing before, or who has been in that space before, you have a calm,
So clarity sorts of also brings some form of calm, because you're like, okay, you're aware of what should happen. Think back to your first days in the high school or in secondary school. For those of us that are schooled in Africa, the secondary school boarding house. You know how it was when a teacher handed you over to a senior student and they told that senior student, look, this person is in your care. I want you to look out for this person for me. And all of that. There was some form of clarity that you got when the person was taking you around school to say, okay, this is the time you have to be at this side of school. This is what you should be doing at this time. When you're in a new terrain, you want to be clear. So every single time you know that something new is going to start to happen to you, you want to start consciously engaging, having clarity. Okay? Now, the other time that you would need clarity is when you are in a situation that you will probably call a dark space. Dark space meaning that you don't have as much light on that thing. You don't have as much understanding. You don't have as much knowledge. You don't have as much insight. And this usually happens when you're trying to crack an idea or a solution. You know those times when you say you're going into the market with a new business idea, or you want to write a new book, and you're trying to say, okay, well, what exactly are you going to write about, or what are the chapters going to be on? Or like for those of us who come online and do live sessions, and you're asking yourself, what am I going to share today? Or you have something going on with your kids and you're trying to see, how am I going to solve this problem with this child or for this child? You need clarity in that space, all right? And at such times, what you're telling yourself, because you realize it's a solution you're trying to kick into, it's an idea you're trying to crack, you know that what could help you to gain clarity in that situation is more knowledge, more understanding, or more insight. And for that, you remember those times when someone explains something to you and you're like, oh, I see. That's what's happening in that space for you. So once again, when you're transitioning to something new, or when you're in a space where it looks like you're trying to crack into something, you need clarity on that thing. Now, the third situation where you need to have a form of clarity is when the task or the project you're working on is big. And I know that happens to a lot of us. Some of us are so creative. We are coming up with different ideas every day. In fact, our spouses, their ears are full, right? And so you are asking yourself at that situation that this thing looks so big. And you know what happens when we, first of all, see something as big? It looks so daunting. If you've ever been to Dubai, the tallest building on this side is the Burj Khalifa. Yes, I don't want to pronounce it wrongly, right? When you're standing at the bottom of any very, big building or tall building like that, it looks so big. In your mind, you're wondering, how am I going to be able to even get to the highest, floor or something like that? You're just seeing it as it's big and all that. But guess what? When you are in a plane or in a helicopter, around that space, you're seeing the Burj Khalifa differently. And that's what happens when we have big things in our lives that we're looking at or we're trying to tackle. We're seeing it from an angle that is different when we're on a higher level or when we're standing outside the frame. And that's really what happens when you're in a mentoring or coaching session, because what happens is that the mentor or the coach helps you to step out of that frame and to see it a little bit differently, because the perspective changes for you. Now, apart from changing perspectives in gaining clarity, when the thing is big, when the project is big, when the idea is big, or the task you're trying to tackle, is the need for you to probably also break that thing into chunks. So again, let's go back to writing books. You're someone who has been planning to write a book for a while. You have friends who've done that. They've been teasing you that they can't wait for yours to come into the market. And you're like, okay, you have an idea of what, the book should be, a few of the chapters and all of that. But every single time you think about writing a book, what you're saying is, oh, writing a book. Until you start to see the book writing as completing chapters, you will find it hard attacking that project, all right?
Okay, let's move a little bit into this writing thing we talked about a little while ago. And I know that you did say your father was, of blessed memory, was an influence to your ability to write. But today, whenever you pick up your pen to write, or whenever you sit at your laptop to put together an article, what is usually that thing that inspires you to start to write? What would you say are your key inspirations or points of inspiration?
My brainwave. Honestly,
Okay.
Sometimes I'm going on the road, ideas keep coming. I like to put it down. Well, back home in Nigeria, I had a driver. So I'm inspired better when he's driving. I don't want him talking to me or distracting me. I could put my pen when I see things, either in the environment, when I hear, I love watching movies.
I knew that.
I love movies. I watch movies, all kind of movies. And sometimes I'm watching a movie, certain ideas keep coming. I'm listening to somebody. I'm listening to certain program. Ideas keep coming. And that's why I say my brainwave. And when my brainwave combines with my inner game, wow.
Then that's a game changer. Nice. But I like that because, so on my own side, I know I speak, I podcast, right? And exactly what you said is also what I do with respect to ideas and inspiration. Usually it could be from a movie, it could be from a conversation with someone. A lot of times when I'm reading as well, I get those ideas. But the important thing that I want to pull out as a nugget for that creative person today is when the idea comes, you need to capture it. Because what happens to a lot of us is we don't really capture the opportunity. Like put it on your phone, record it quickly, share with someone about it to let it stay and to receive it fully. But if you're a creative person and you're picking up ideas, capture it. The important thing is to capture it, because the moment the habit of capturing is an inspirational one on its own, and it helps you to build on it. Thank you so much. That was really quite good.
Eagles feed on fresh meat. They don't scavenge. They don't feed on dead meat. A lot of animals depend on dead meat, prey that are already dead, things that are already dead. Egypt, the vulture, they feed on decaying substance, things that are not fresh, things that are not new, right? But here, eagles feed on fresh meat. Folks, in your life and in your business, you need new ideas, new insights, new territories, right? Blue ocean strategies. You need new ideas. You need to take your time. If you want to soar like the eagle, if you want to glide like the eagle, you need new ideas, new insights, new relationships, new territories. You cannot afford to do business the way you were doing it yesterday. A wise man has said, if you do business today with yesterday's ideas, then you will not be in business tomorrow. If you do today's business with yesterday's ideas, you won't be in business tomorrow. New strategies, blue ocean strategies. There are new things happening around. Listen, folks, for example, the world of artificial intelligence is about to make a run. Are you going to position like the eagle bird? Or are you going to be doubtful? What's happening? No, let's feed on dead meat. Let's feed on ideas that are already around. Everybody's doing it, so let's do it as well. Let's do what's on social media, what's in vogue right now. Let's position in that direction. Then you will be like a vulture. The eagles feed on fresh meat. They don't scavenge. They feed on fresh meat. They kill the prey themselves and they feed on it. That's the eagle bird for you. That's the life of the eagle. Are you going to come with new ideas? Are you coming into new territories? Are you having new insights? Blue ocean strategies, areas that have not been explored before. ChatGPT is up and coming right now. Are you going to plug in artificial intelligence? Are you going to plug in the social media is expanding its network? Are you going to plug in into new ideas, new dreams, fresh meat? Or are you going to dwell with the vultures and feed on the old? So as I told you, as I contemplated a few of these ideas, I realized that there are numerous things we can learn from the life of the eagle. Do you have eagle vision? Are you focused in your vision? Are you focused in your vision? What are you looking at? What are you seeing? Are you fearless? Or are you afraid? Are you not launching out because of fear? Is fear paralyzing you? You need to launch out like the eagle. You need to launch out. You won't allow fear to paralyze you. Are you tenacious? Or are you giving up because you face difficulties here and there? The first obstacle you face, you try something new. Or are you going to keep on keeping on until you get it right? Are you going to let adversity break you? Or are you going to break records as a result of adversity?
The law of gestation, and I always say it's removed every form of pressure in my life. You know, growth takes time. You mentioned that there's a time for a time. The way you put it, a time for starting something, a time of completion. I remember, and you should not compare yourself to, even though you're doing the same thing, someone has gone far ahead of you, and you put yourself under pressure and say, I'm not like this person, I'm not like this person. No, it takes time. Growth takes time. And that also has kind of helped me in my career. I didn't put myself on any pressure again. So when I see someone doing better than me, I'm like, he has been there for long. He has grown. He has had so many experiences that have pushed him to that level. So let me enjoy the space where I am. I'm not saying that I'm going to be lackadaisical about my career, about things, but I'm not going to put myself under so much pressure by setting unnecessary targets for myself. Let me learn, let me grow, and take my time and grow well than me comparing myself to another person. So that is very key for me. I remember it wasn't not 2 or 3 weeks ago again, and I was going for a program, I was scared, and I heard your voice in my head. I said, don't be afraid of greatness. That thing, somebody was supposed to host me, Mr. Kalalugodi, and I was like, how will I say? Yeah. How will I say? And I was scared, and I was going, like, I just heard your voice, like, don't be scared of greatness. I couldn't even post the flyers on my statuses, like, just heard that voice, it kind of liberates me. So the thing is still ongoing, the effect is still ongoing. Yeah, so that's it.
Awesome, wow. Decision making. Particularly this year, one thing that has been reinforced for me when I try to have conversations with people is to bring them to this. Have you made up your mind? Do you want this? And when do you want it? And maybe this is so because it has been my own experience, right? And I think about my mastermind group. So we have like 3 mastermind groups we run in the year. I think we're going to be making a modification to that. I'll announce that in a bit, not today, but soon, right? So we have like 3 mastermind groups typically that we run in a year. And I can tell you that even though I've run these mastermind groups for 2 consecutive years, when it's about time to launch, I usually always dilly-dally. Yes, I can tell you that without covering my face, that I also have those points when I'm not ready. I'm just not in that place. And so I'm dilly-dallying and I'm just saying, no, this hasn't happened. But I have realized this, that every single time I tell myself, you need to tell yourself you will do this. You need to tell yourself when you will start this, things start to fall in place. So the question with anything you are doing in your life today is, have you decided if you want it? And have you decided when you want it? Because deciding you want something and deciding when you want something, they are critical. We spoke about 3 critical points on the path to your goal just a few weeks back. And one of the things that, I said is that even before you get on the track is deciding, decision making. It's one of the things that mark for strengths for CEOs and anyone in a C-suite position. They are decision makers and they are making decisions back to back, as in things are coming to their table and they have to be making decisions. In your own life, what are you dilly-dallying about? I can tell you that I still dilly-dally, but you know what? I know that every single thing that I decide quickly on, and I decide properly on. So I'm not saying rush into your decisions, but every single time you decide properly and you decide quickly enough, you will see a difference.